but it doesn't need to be scary. And that's basically keeping students motivated during test prep time. For those of you who are joining us and don't know who I am Sam Hall. I am been with Class Tag for about 2 years, went full-time about 3 months ago, and I am the content and product marketing manager. And Leona, yeah, tell us who you are. Give us a little bit of your background. It's very interesting, and I really enjoyed our conversation we've already been having.
Sam, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Leona Krasner. It is a pleasure to be here. And I am managing director of my own tutoring company. And so I grew up in Brooklyn, went to Brooklyn Technical High School, had to take a test to get in there, then went to NYU for undergrad, where I studied poli-sci and psychology, went down to Washington and Lee in Lexington, Virginia for my law degree, and then hurried back to New York City and got my MBA at NYU Stern.
That is, and we were joking before this, is we're both political science majors, and that is not where I had intended to go with my political science degree, was marketing, but I love it, and we both share pretty much a passion for getting people to understand us, teaching in general. So Leona, how did you come up with this idea that you wanted to help students kind of get ready for test prep? Where did that come from?
So that's a great question. So my love of teaching and sort of tutoring, if you will, actually sort of struck when I was on the subway to high school. So a fellow classmate was like, "Hey, Leona, do my homework for me." And I was like, "Well, no, but I'll explain to you how to get there." And then we did. And it was fantastic. And probably 6 months later, I was tutoring my very first student. He was 6 years old. And we went from not fabulous grades to having him student of the district.
Oh, wow. And that's like a nice story from the get-go. Like, you had this passion from that. So, I mean, and having to explain that you went to school for political science, and, you know, what made you come back to this? Because obviously this is something that kind of followed you through the multiple careers you had. Why did you come back to tutoring?
Great question. So I have always enjoyed teaching and tutoring, and some people do yoga. I teach people things on the side, right? And then that became the full-time tutoring job, right? So I've been tutoring for over 15 years, and I decided to make it a little more formal through my company, Krasner Review. I'd say maybe around 5 or so years ago. And the reason why I do it is because I love helping people understand and go from a place of this is scary and I hate math to, oh, this is really doable. And I actually feel really comfortable about this process because when I do it this way, I get it right.
That's great. And for those of you joining us, feel free to drop any comments or questions you might have for her in chat. Love two-way conversations. Also, Leona, you know, you brought something different to the table, and I even talked about this. I came from the restaurant management career, and then I, went into teaching, and then now I'm in marketing. So kind of a really weird streamline. What in your other careers kind of helped you connect with students to get them to understand? Because, I mean, you didn't have an education background, but you're obviously contributing quite a bit to education.
So it turns out a whole lot of people have kids. So getting to know people, asking them more questions, seeing where their kids are and where they're struggling and what's hard, oftentimes parents will mention that even in casual conversation, okay? And even if it's a student who's studying or say wants to go back to school, just by engaging people in conversation, that's really helpful. Also, those students who I've already had then know other people who are also applying. So it's really been, I'd say, word of mouth marketing more so than anything else.
And we talked a little bit before this, and I asked you, but I want to ask you again so everyone knows, what grades or what kind of subjects do you tutor on?
So we prepare students, royally, right? I prepare students K through 12, help them get into undergrad, right? So that's the SAT and ACT, and also the subject test, and then help students get into grad school. So usually that's the GRE or GMAT. Help students get into law school, so that's the LSAT. Also prepare students for the TOEFL and for the bar exam. And then help with applications and also scholarship negotiation.
Oh, wow. See, and for those of you that are listening in who are parents too, I mean, that's awesome, because we always need guidance with that. We didn't share this before, but I'm a first gen bachelor's in my family, and that would have been super helpful.
I'm the same.
The scholarship negotiation, I mean, that alone has been very helpful. So, and then I also want to follow up with, do you have any practical tips for teachers who are, testing season during COVID is a very different, I'm sure. We don't even know what it looks like yet, but AP and IB tests, I know as a teacher, they don't stop. So they're going to happen no matter what. So what are some tips, some practical tips you can give for teachers with testing?
So the first piece is confidence. When a student doesn't have confidence in themselves, they will unconsciously shoot themselves in the foot. Okay? They will literally in lessons tell me, Leona, I know it's A, but I'm actually going to pick C. I'm like, but it was A, right? So that confidence, right, is key. Letting every single student know that this is learnable, this is doable, I think is critical. Second piece is accountability. And I this is putting a real heavy burden on teachers for sure. Maybe parents can assist as well, but making students accountable, right? Saying this is the assignment, and then let's see it at the end. Having the parent maybe take a look. I don't know. Building in that accountability somehow. What I do, is I have those students who really need a little bit of assistance with accountability text me each day what their homework assignment is. P.S. We already talked about their homework assignment. So they're letting me know that they know, I know, they know, right? And then once they're done for the day, they text me what they did. Now, I'm not mommy. I'm not going to yell at them. I'm not going to be mad. I just know that when I personally am accountable to somebody, and then it's like teachers watching over my shoulder. I've got to do the thing, right? I promised I would. I said I would, right? So that way students are way more likely to actually do their homework and progress. Okay.
Which is great because that actually works on adults too. I know personally in my work career, I have someone, it's like an accountability buddy, but we just kind of say what we're doing for the day and she responds back to me and it's not like she's going to hold me. She's going to be like, did you do that today? But it's just saying, hey, I'm doing this. And she's, can offer any kind of like help with speed bumps that I might encounter, but her and I do completely different jobs, but she's just a great person to maybe just have there to talk to about what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Do you have any more tips for teachers that are, those are two very practical tips for sure.
Those are two. And then the third one, I see this one a whole lot. Okay. So it's either focusing way too much on learning the material or practicing. Right? So the best kind of learning and improving for an exam is really going to require both of those. Making sure that we learn the materials and then practice them enough. So sometimes I see students who are like, Leona, I need to learn everything. I don't want to practice. I might get something wrong. Yeah, you're going to get things wrong, right? And you're going to learn the best from wrong answers, right? Those are golden nuggets. Because guess what? I'd rather you get that one wrong today and get it right on exam day than think to yourself that you got it and then come exam day you didn't practice enough and you're going to do worse than you thought. For those people who only practice, but they don't have they never put on the training wheels, so they don't know how to ride the two-wheel bike yet, right? So learning the material to then practice, the two go hand in hand.
That's great. I love how you boiled that down. And it always comes up in my head, especially as a teacher, is that you have those students, and you said this earlier, who they have everything there. Like they know the content, they've practiced it, they're going to be fine. They get to the test and they just kind of lose their mind. How do you build that confidence in a student to get them to understand, hey, it's a test, but like you're ready for this. Like you've done what you need to do for this. How do you build their confidence in this?
Great question. So first is almost every single question type has a step-by-step process where if the student follows steps 1 to 5 or whatever they may be, they're way more likely to get the right answer, right? And so part of that process, especially if it's a multiple choice exam, is for each answer choice to make a selection, whether yes, I'm keeping A, maybe I'm keeping A, or no, A is out. Because very often students get to I think it's A, but maybe it's C. A, C, and then they pick the wrong one. Right. Another really important tip is to put what they think the correct answer is in their own words before they look at the answer choices. So that way it's just more of a matching game. It's way easier to say, well, of course A and B are wrong. C's a maybe, D's a worse maybe. So you know what, we're going to go with C. Helps boil things down further. And another thing I have students do is grab maybe 10 sheets of computer printer paper and write, I am going to get whatever it is their goal score is. on this exam, right? So for the bar exam, for instance, I have them write, I will pass the February 2021 bar exam, and I have them literally tape these up around their house. Okay, so literally everywhere they go, they see signs they themselves made that say they've got this and they can do it.
That's great. And I think that goes right in with teachers, teaching that social emotional learning where it's affirmations. You need to see that you're going to make those goals. You not only made the goal, you see it every day.
Everywhere they go.
It's a great reminder. And I know personally, I've had students who they're ready for things and you're just like, oh, you're great. And then they have that anxiety and because that confidence isn't there. Is there any other good tips you have for testing anxiety? Because I know that's something like even teachers, we have to go for professional exams. I've seen teachers even have it.
Yes, it's super, super duper common across exams, across scoring groups, if you will. What I recommend is creating sort of a study sort of plan, right? Meaning like an order. Okay, when I sit down, I put my pencil here and I put my piece of scratch paper here, and then I like have a system. You have a system, it's so much easier to check into the system. So now it's almost like a program, right? So Michael Phelps has his system for what he does before he wins all those Olympic medals, but he's already won those Olympic medals over and over and over and over again. He kind of runs the script. So create the script. So it's not a brand new first time scary thing. It's you're running it the 573rd time.
I love that because it's basically like you're putting yourself on autopilot because you know it. Like there's no argument anymore. It's it. Let's put it in autopilot and we can do this. That's great. And any advice you have for those taking tests in maybe environments that they're not used to, especially with COVID? I know Pearson, for example, View, that's one of the testing centers that we have locally. Mm-hmm. They're having it at home and they're having, I think, the camera on you and a couple of other things. Any advice for students dealing with that or teachers having to kind of coach students through that?
So the key is practice, 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 right? In as close an environment to what you're actually going to see, right? The bar exam this past time in October for New York was virtual, and they sliced the exam in half and forget about going to the bathroom because you failed your exam. You need to be on camera the entire time or they assume you're cheating, right? So what did bar examiner students need to do? They needed to practice, okay? So there are resources online that kind of maybe assist with that. Maybe jump onto FaceTime with somebody else where they're watching even if they're like doing their nails on the side or whatever it is, right? There's another company, it's called FocusMate, FocusMate.com. It's a paid service, but it's not terribly expensive. I think you get a couple hours free. Basically, the way it works is you pick your slot and then you match with a random person who's on this website. You say, hi, my name's Leona. I am going to do 1 30-minute GMAT practice section. And they're like, hi, I'm going to do this. And then they don't say a word. Usually I mute them, they mute me, and I do my thing. But I know they could be watching me. And it's a very similar type experience, probably, or at least a little bit closer to what they're actually going to get on the exam.
I think that's great. And one of the things I even learned during testing is, and for teachers out there who are teaching even higher levels or lower levels, recreating that testing environment in terms of getting your students ramped up for that. If it's a 45-minute part of an exam, they should be doing that already by the time they get to that exam. The exam isn't the first time you see a 45-minute essay. I mean, practice, 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 exactly what you're saying, Leona. And anything else you'd like to add in at, just letting teachers know just general advice on finding a good tutor, for example, because unfortunately not all of us are near you, Leona. We can't all have a great tutor like you, but giving teachers advice on how to maybe match a tutor to a child or even a parent matching a tutor to a child.
That is a fantastic question. I would actually, honestly, reach out to other moms and dads in the community. And there's another fantastic resource. It's called takelessons.com. Has all kinds of tutors on there. And then there are also reviews for those tutors. And you get to see how many hours they logged with Take Lessons. It talks about their backgrounds. So you're getting a little bit more information about the tutor than you might otherwise be getting. All of it's virtual, so that might be another option as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, and that's actually a great point. And I'm sure there are tutors out there who are not just local, they're teaching international, national or even international at some points.
For sure, and I do that as well, right? The power of technology allows us to tutor students across the world, which I think is amazing.
And Leona, you guys, we can definitely drop, go ahead and do a plug, Twitter channel, or Twitter, Instagram, any of that. Go ahead and share that with our users so that they can go ahead and check you out.
Of course, it's Krasner Review. So KRASNERREVIEW.
Perfect. And guys, we do monitor chat 24 hours after a live session, so feel free to drop any comments you might have or any questions. Leona is a wealth of information, and this is still a topic. I know we fortunately, as teachers, sometimes hate standardized testing, but still a topic, still something we definitely need to keep an eye on. And it doesn't need to be a negative experience. It can be a positive one, especially for our students who are getting college credits or working up to get those college credits. This is still like a great time. There's great examples of why we have standardized testing. So have a great evening, guys, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.